We're going to call this September meeting of the Lenore County Board of Education to order. We will recognize Mr. Harvey for the invocation.
Thank you. Let us pray. May the words spoken in this room tonight be beneficial to the students, parents, staff, and administrators in our school system. And may we be led by the guiding principle to always base our decisions on the best interests of our young people. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is the approval of the agenda for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our agenda is submitted for your consideration and approval.
Move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Nobles. Any further discussion on the agenda for this evening? And we'll call it for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. The agenda is approved. Next item is the board chair comments. I think we have some good news for you tonight, but I'm not going to steal it away from Mr. Williams, so we will turn it over to him for his announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've had a very smooth start to the school year. Honestly, I can't remember a smoother start, and that is due to the hard work and dedication of our staff members and our students and our extended family, our parents and community members. So I want to thank all who had a role in making this such a smooth start for this 2016-2017 school year. Mr. Mitchell reported that other than a couple of minor situations, everything was very smooth in transportation and transporting our children to and from school. He reported that a first for Lenore County Public Schools over the last several years happened, that we actually had a driver with no fill-ins, double routes, sub-drivers or anything. We had an actual driver for every bus, and that's saying a lot if you haven't had that recently. So that was great on day one, and we hope that will continue. That's great on the first day, but it'll be quite something on a cold November morning, so we hope that's the case then too. So great job to all of our teachers and our other staff members and our students for making it a great start. We appreciate that. We opened our enrollment as of day 5 was 8,674 students. Day 5 was Friday, and that was up from 8,539 on opening day. We had projected an opening enrollment of 8,700, and hopefully we will at least make that, but still enrollment generally levels out by day 10, so we're thinking that in the next few days, particularly since it's after the holiday, traditionally we've seen enrollment go up and down, but primarily up, so we're hoping that that'll level out by day 10 of the school year. North Lenore seniors Angel Kanoa and Jackson Sullivan spent 6 weeks this summer at the prestigious Governor's School of North Carolina. Mr. Kanoa focused on math, and Mr. Sullivan concentrated on science. This summer there were 650 students chosen from 1,849 applications. So to Jackson and Angel, congratulations on a job well done. North Lenore High School senior Dianthony Hall served as a page in the North Carolina Senate over the summer. She was nominated by Senator Don Davis of Greene County. The Lenore County Public Schools Teacher of the Year banquet will be held Wednesday, September the 7th, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. at the Shrine Club. We hope that all can attend. Lenore County Public Schools, we are excited to be able to host the North Carolina School Boards Association District 2 regional meeting at Kinston High School on Thursday of this week, September the 8th. And that event starts at 4 p.m. and will end by 8 p.m. And all of the school board members from around eastern North Carolina are invited, and based on the numbers that Ms. Berger has received, most of them will be attending. So we'll have good attendance on Thursday. So excited about that event. Thursday, September the 22nd will be an early dismissal day for students. On October the 26th, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Dr. June Atkinson, will be the featured speaker at the Lenore County Education Foundation Luncheon in support of the Foundation's mini grant program. All proceeds will go to the mini grant program, which last year awarded over $10,300 in grants to 33 of our teachers. So we're very excited about that. On September the 1st, the State Board of Education released a list of low-performing school systems for 2016-2017. We were very pleased to see that we had projected, and we realized that it would be very close, but we were very, very pleased and excited and very proud to see that Lenore County Public Schools no longer is the only school system in the southeast region of North Carolina on that list. In fact, we're not on the list at all, and just glad not to be a part of that distinction. So we did have two schools that exited low performing status. LaGrange Elementary School did, and Northwest Elementary School. We had two schools, as the presentation by Mrs. Herring will show tonight. We had another two schools that were very, very close. Northeast Elementary School and Contentnia Savannah K-8 School also were very close to exiting low performing status as well. What does this mean for us? It means we're not designated as a low performing district this year. But what it also means for us is, and we'll still have the state support team. That team was designated for 18 months from last January through 18 months, so that would be through the end of this school year. But what it means for us is that the hard work that our teachers and our principals and our central services team members have been engaged in over the last few months, we are more convinced than ever that we are heading in the right direction, that we're on the right track and the right path, and that the instructional supports, the instructional framework, the common language of instruction, that the instructional pacing guides and pacing documents, and the increased expectations for instruction, that we are on the right track, that it will work. And we know that it will work because it's worked before in Lenore County, and it certainly will again. And today, this is just one indicator, but it's an important step in the process of realizing that it is working for us, that our hard work is making a difference, it is paying off every single day. And this is just one indicator of that, but we're looking forward to more and more schools coming out of low performing status and continuing to move ahead as a district. So we're pleased with that, we're proud of that, but this is just the beginning. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. Next item is public comment. I understand we do not have anyone signed up, so we will move to the presentation portion of our agenda. Ms. Davis with the financial report is what's on my list. Is that right?
There's a new one.
Is it changed?
Yes. Go.
What's on my list?
Hold on. Let me go back.
CPS goals.
I'll take that back. It got updated since the last time I loaded it. We will go with the school's goals. Ms. Herring.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant.
Just in the last hour.
Lenore County Public Schools has spent the past year identifying needs and areas for improvement. In response to this analysis, the administrative team, including both the district and school level administrators, have written new goals. During the administrative retreat this past July, the team identified 3 major goals to drive Lenore County Public Schools. Each principal shared the 3 suggested goals with their faculty and staff, and in turn were asked to enter feedback, recommendations, and suggestions on each of the goals. These responses were reviewed by the Curriculum and Instruction team and were used to edit the goals that have been presented to you on this agenda. We respectfully ask that the board consider these new goals and approve them at the next meeting. And then this was the attachment, the proposed goals for 2016. Goal 1, Lenore County Public School educators shall support systemic school improvement by implementing consistent procedures and processes that focus on the use of data to inform instruction, attending and contributing to professional learning communities, creating and adapting curriculum guides, and administering and interpreting benchmark assessments. Goal 2, Lenoir County Public School teachers shall provide quality, planned instruction aligned to standards, supported with digital integration, monitored with assessments, and measured by proficiency and growth indicators. And then Goal 3 is Lenoir County Public Schools shall provide a positive, safe, and healthy learning environment for all students and staff. Any questions? You just consider them for the month, and it will be an action item at the next meeting.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Anderson?
Are these goals replacing the 7 that we currently have now?
Yes, sir. They will be replacing the 7 that we currently have.
These goals will be fleshed out with accompanying objectives, strategies, and action steps to support each. If you look at our current goals, most of those goals, one of the comments that our DPI coaches made was that most of our current goals pretty much fall under one instructional goal and could really be fused into one large instructional goal, and all of those would really be under Goal 1, and then each would be fleshed out accordingly.
Do you feel like our current goals are going to be incorporated into this?
Oh, yeah.
I'd hate to think we would be leaving those behind.
Oh, no. They would certainly fall underneath these goals. The 7 goals that we have now read more like strategies as opposed to goals. And so they certainly will nest underneath Goal 1 or 2.
Any questions for Ms. Herring on that issue?
For clarity though, I would suggest that when you list the strategies under these goals, you be sure to incorporate.
There's 7. Yes, sir. I'll be happy with that.
Yep, I would certainly agree with that, because, those original 7 came out of a school improvement task force that spent a couple of years working on those goals that many of us were involved in. Okay. Well, we'll move on to the 2016 Ready accountability results, Ms. Herring, if you're ready for that.
2015-16 Ready Accountability Results for Lenoir County Public Schools. So I'd like to start with good news. Lenoir County Public Schools is no longer identified a low-performing district. As Mr. Williams indicated a few moments ago, LaGrange Elementary School and Northwest Elementary School both came out of low-performing status, therefore giving the district the opportunity to come out of low-performing status as well. LaGrange Elementary exceeded growth, as did Northwest, and LaGrange's grade went from a D to a C. So that was tremendous growth, and we're very, very excited about that. The staff at LaGrange and at Northwest worked very hard, and we would like to congratulate them. If you look at the elementary schools' Ready results, you see the columns 12-13, 13-14, 14-15, and 15-16. And then there's the column for gain and loss from the 14-15 year to the 15-16 year. What you will notice is that all elementary schools in Lenoir County had growth in 15-16. So as you can imagine, we're very excited about that. All of our elementary schools trended upwards. Are there any questions? I'm going to go through and break all this down for you. All right, we're going to get started. Grade 3 reading, grade level proficiency. Please notice that the brownish bar on the right-hand side of each school represents the 15-16 school year. If you compare it to the green bar next to it representing the 14-15 school year, you'll be able to visualize the increase or decrease from the past 2 years. Banks, Continue Savannah, LaGrange, Northeast, Southeast, and Southwood all trended upward in third grade reading in 15-16. The district as a whole also increased in third grade reading. Fourth grade reading. Please note that LaGrange Elementary, Moss Hill, Northwest, and Pink Hill all trended up in fourth grade reading. Fifth grade reading. Banks, Continue Savannah, Northeast, Northwest, Pink Hill, and Southeast all trended up in fourth grade reading in 15-16. The district as a whole also increased in fifth grade reading proficiency. Third grade math. Banks, Continue Savannah, LaGrange, Northeast, Northwest, Pink Hill, Southeast, and Southwood all trended up in third grade math. We would like to correlate in the belief that we could the support from the MSP grant, the Math Science Partnership Grant, to this steady increase in third grade math at every school but one. The district as a whole also increased in third grade math. Fourth grade math. LaGrange, Moss Hill, Northwest, and Pink Hill all trended up in fourth grade math proficiency. The district as a whole also increased. Fifth grade math proficiency. Banks, Northeast, Northwest, Pink Hill, and Southeast all trended up in fifth grade math. The district as a whole increased in fifth grade math proficiency. It is exciting to mention here on the fifth grade science that Banks had nearly 90% proficiency in fifth grade science, well above the state average. Continue Savannah, Moss Hill, Northeast, Northwest, Pink Hill, and Southwood also all trended up in fifth grade science. The district as a whole also increased in overall proficiency in fifth grade science. Middle schools, the 15-16 ready results. Again, you'll notice the 4-year trend from 2012 until 2016, and then the gain and loss column from 14-15 school year to the 15-16. 2 schools had gains, Frink Middle School and Woodington. Rochelle had a dip at -2.5, and Continue Savannah had a dip at -0.2. In grade 6 reading proficiency, Continue Savannah, Frink, and Woodington all trended upwards in 6th grade reading proficiency. The district as a whole also increased in 6th grade reading proficiency. The only school that trended upwards in 7th grade reading was Rochelle Middle School. 8th grade reading level proficiency, the only school that trended upwards in 8th grade reading was Woodington Middle School. 6th grade math. Every middle school in the district trended upward in 6th grade math proficiency. An important note here is that nearly every middle school math teacher in the district participated in the MSP grant over the last 3 years. The district also had an overall increase in 6th grade level proficiency. In 7th grade math, Continue Savannah, Frink, and Rochelle all trended upwards in 7th grade math proficiency, as did the district. 8th grade math remained relatively stagnant from the year before. Woodington was the only middle school that trended upwards in proficiency. 8th grade science. Continue Savannah and Frink both trended upwards in 8th grade science proficiency. The district as a whole decreased from 58.4 to 57.4 in the 15-16 school year. High school grading results. Again, you'll notice from 2012 to 2016, and then the gain and loss. Kinston High School had a gain of 0.7. The early college had a decline of negative 9.8. North Lenore had an increase of 0.5. South Lenore had a decrease of negative 3.1. And LCLA maintained. Biology. There are 3 tested areas in high school: biology, math 1, and English 2. The state is only 55.5% proficient in biology, indicating that it is an area of need across the state. In Lenoir County, North Lenoir increased its biology proficiency from 19.2% proficient to 27.2%. South Lenoir High School increased its scores from 49.5% proficient to 49.8% proficient in the 15-16 school year. Math 1. You'll note on the chart that to the right are the middle schools: Continue, Savannah, Frank, Rochelle, and Woodington, because students, of course, take the Math 1 EOG generally in the 8th grade. So that's what those scores are. The students who benefited from the Common Core North Carolina Standard Course of Study are still in elementary school, those students that have had it from kindergarten on. They are currently in the 4th grade, and they haven't reached high school yet. The students in high school were first exposed to the new standards when they were in either 8th or 9th grade. They've not benefited yet from the more rigorous standards in the lower grades, thus truly putting them at a disadvantage. The middle school students taking Math 1 in 8th grade have been taught with the new standards since upper elementary and have shown greater proficiency. Please note, though, that these students are also served in our AIG program and are more likely to achieve at a higher rate in reading and/or mathematics in 8th grade. And we recognize that this is a significant area that we need to focus on. And English 2, grade level proficiency. English 2 scores have remained relatively steady at each school from the 14-15 school year to the 15-16 school year. North Lenoir High School did demonstrate a slight increase from 45.7% proficient in 14-15 to 46.9% proficient in 15-16. So there's some overall positive takeaways from the data. 2 schools came off the list of low performing. Every elementary school made a gain in overall proficiency from 14-15 to 15-16. 2 schools improved their letter grade in the 2015-16 year. Northeast went from an F to a D, and LaGrange improved from a D to a C. 3 schools well exceeded the growth expectation of positive 2.0, which would mean exceeded. And those 3 schools are LaGrange Elementary, Northwest, and Pink Hill. 2 of our schools just barely missed meeting the growth expectation, and that was Continue Savannah at just a negative 0.43 and Northeast Elementary at a negative 0.56. If these 2 schools had met growth, we would have had 4 schools come out of low performing. So we were very, very close to that. And in 14-15, only 35.3% of our schools had an increase in overall proficiency. But in 15-16, 70.6% of our schools had an increase in overall proficiency. And we think that's a huge celebration. To quickly go over the graduation rate. The 4-year cohort rate, which is the standard rate, these are students that start high school at the same time and are trended to graduate together in 4 years, had decreased only slightly, 0.6 of a point. We're still below the state average by around 6 points, but we dropped from 80% graduation rate to 79.4 in 15-16. And you see that the state four-year graduation rate is at 85.8. Now, the 5-year cohort rate, the extended rate, these are the same group of students. They all started together. But these are the students that instead of taking 4 years to graduate, it took 5. We have an even better increase. The 5-year cohort rate is slightly higher than the 4-year cohort rate. These numbers take into consideration the students in a cohort that took 5 years instead of 4. Every high school increased its 5-year cohort graduation rate. Every high school increased its 5-year cohort graduation rate from 14-15 to 15-16. And we'd also like to celebrate that huge gain. So I'd like to venture that LCPS is ready. Any questions? Anything I can clear up?
I still have a problem with this A through F grading. Because when you look at it, what's confusing is when you look at the results, you look at a school that exceeded growth, got a D, and you look at a school that didn't meet growth and got a D. I don't understand how they're doing it. Do y'all understand it?
Well, I don't work for SAS. However, I can explain that the proficiency, the grade is based on 80% proficiency and 20% growth.
Right.
So if you have a school that doesn't have tremendous proficiency, but they have a lot of growth, their letter grade is just naturally going to be lower. I propose that it should be 80% growth and 20% proficiency. But
We've been arguing that for the past couple of years.
absolutely, yes. But it also is, when you have a school that has trended over a series of years at a higher rate of proficiency, then it takes a different amount. It might take a larger amount for them to meet growth. It might be a larger number compared to a school that may be operating at a much lower proficiency over a course of time. They can meet growth with a much smaller number. So it really depends on each individual school and how they have performed over the course of 4 to 5 years. So it doesn't make, you can't compare apples to apples.
So, yeah.
It's hard to understand.
So what the General Assembly in Raleigh has done is pretty much somebody coming into the district looking at these grades that the schools got doesn't actually reflect the growth in the school.
Absolutely.
So when they come in and look at it, they say, okay, well, they got an F. I don't think I want to move there. So the General Assembly has really kind of messed us up because everybody with good common sense, well, I say common sense isn't common anymore, but would know that more weight should be put on the growth and not this proficiency stuff. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
The only thing I gotta say this is all the rest of the schools judge the same way that North County is.
Yes.
No state.
These are statewide standards, yes.
That's what bothers me then.
Just don't make sense.
If everybody else is judged the same way we are, and they're still not there. I just thought that needed to be said because that bothers me. And let's keep improving. That's all I got to say.
I just want to highlight again, we have more bright spots in our data than we've had over the last 5 years. And we really have some tangible gains. And are they huge gains? No, but they are tangible gains. They're very real gains that we can document that show improvements and steps forward. And I'll take growth any day. And I'm very proud of our teachers and our students and our administrators for their hard work and our central services team members. We are on the right track and we're headed there. Now these are the initial steps, but I'll tell you 1 year from now we'll be celebrating more schools coming out of low performing. And beyond that, those minimum standards really achieving at higher and higher levels. Growth is outstanding. I'll take that any day. Increases in proficiency are good. All of those positive numbers are good. We know we have a long way to go, but those initial positive steps are what we can hang our hat on and continue to improve with. So we're excited about that.
So the only way to change the other stuff is in November, right?
But you got to realize, how can you give a school, I mean, I agree, I don't like the 80-20, and I'm not even looking at the data, I can shut my computer. How can you give a school that's at 25% a B or a C? Maybe they did increase 5 or 10%, that's wonderful. But you're still at 25 and 30%.
Right.
I can't, I mean, you're talking about looking skewed and odd. That, to me, would look,
Well, you'd ideally need both. You need increases in proficiency because
Right.
at some point, if your proficiency is so low, a minimal change in a minimal growth and a small change in proficiency doesn't mean much if a large percentage of your students still aren't proficient and on grade level. So I really think it's a combination of the two, and that's been the crux of the debate at the state level about how much to count growth, how much to count proficiency, and that's really at the essence of the debate.
and you continue to grow, like, you said, and Carlin, I think was kind of getting to, you continue to grow and you will get rid of those Ds and Cs.
Absolutely.
But the scale is just unbalanced. You know, it need to be a little tilted a little bit more.
I
towards-
agree.
towards
I agree.
growth.
Mr. Anderson?
I want to give credit where credit is due. And I think the hard work is an indication that it is paying off. We said some time ago that 2 years ago, with the introduction of the laptops and all this kind of stuff, that it would take some time. But this is definitely an indication that the track is at least headed in the right direction. I still need to challenge Mr. Harvey, however, because I'm still waiting. I look at a school like Banks that's made its performance mark 2 years in a row. But when I look at the end of the year incident data, it runs contrary to everything that I've been taught.
Right.
That a school with that high of incident rate would have that kind of success.
Right. And we recognized that immediately when we saw the data from Ms. Heath. Ms. Herring and I spoke with Ms. Bryant, the principal at Banks, and what we realized that incidents and instances are different. So I think the reporting is a lot different than maybe it should be or it will be. So we are working with that principal, and we will work with all of our elementary principals to make sure that the data is reported evenly and correctly throughout the district. So I think, for instance, in the Banks instance, incidents are reported probably multiple times through instances. That makes sense to you.
Well, I understand that, and I'll accept that. But when I look at a school that has 839, I wouldn't expect it to meet growth. And I still think as a board, we need to see that information disaggregated. We're still waiting. And we were told you had it ready.
We'll bring that to you. The team is working on trying to bring some consistency to it so that you, in the reporting, because currently there's not great consistency. That's what they found in analyzing the data. And they're working on trying to bring that to some meaningful point so the data will actually mean something to you, that you see 600 incidents and it's 600 instances within those incidents. So they are working on that. We'll have you something at the next board meeting.
So in those incidents, you could have, what, 1 or 2 children repeated in those same incidents.
You could have several incidents in one occurrence.
Right.
It's obvious in reviewing the report that there isn't a consistency throughout the system. So,
And I think the language is not the same language as we talked about as well. The language that DPI uses is somewhat different than what Lenore County Schools has used in its handbook. So it's going to take a team effort from all of us to correct that. So that's what we will do.
it makes it hard to consider yourself monitoring something when you're not getting that.
Doesn't a lot of that depend on the principals and their reporting accurately?
It always goes back to that, but what we're looking at here, when you look at the end of last year,
The end of the year.
some of these are just off the chart.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Herring on the accountability result? And I want to say I appreciate the increased focus on instruction. I really believe we're headed in the right direction with that, and I appreciate all the hard work y'all put into that. And I hope it continues.
Thank you.
And I guess we're going to continue with your plan for increased student achievement. Ms. Herring.
Me again. So this is our plan for support and improvement for the
That makes sense.
16-17 school year. I'd like to start with laying out what we have done so far today with regards to our focus on instruction and improvement. I'd like to start with the spring of 2016 when we launched what we called our Focused Finish. It was the last push before EOCs and EOGs. It took place during the last 40 days of school, and it was a document that provided a review of the priority standards. It included resources, lessons, and common formative assessments on SchoolNet every 2 weeks. And what is important also to note that these were teacher created. So we pulled teachers based on their EVOS data to help us create this spiraling 40 days of review and focused finish for the end of the year to ensure that all of the priority standards were covered. I just want to show you this quick, it's a very small snippet of a video, but it leads into what we want to talk about with regards to working on the right stuff. I know you can't hear it, he's just moving snow around. Scraping. He's working really hard
Wrong car.
to unlock.
Wrong car. Could see that one coming.
So, the point there is that our teachers work really hard in Lenore County. They work very hard, and we don't doubt that. But what we do know and what we have to acknowledge is that we're not working on the right stuff. We're recalibrating our approach to ensure that we're planning lessons that are absolutely based on the standards. So in order to do that, this past summer, we endeavored to create a standards-driven curriculum guide for K-8 math and K-8 English language arts and the 3 tested areas in high school. The pacing guides created 5 years ago after the Common Core was rolled out had not been updated. At the time, we did the best we could with understanding the new standards. But after 5 years of working with the new standards, it was apparent that the implementation documents had to be reviewed. We needed to be able to hand a brand new teacher a resource that they could take and immediately use as they prepared to teach their very first class. These documents do that. They provide a continuity and a consistency through the district that has not existed in a very long time. So the first 3 work days, August 18th, 19th, and 22nd, we spent 3 days rotating every teacher in the district in and out of 3-hour sessions that introduced the new instructional website to them, the lesson plan template, and how to really understand the standards that they are required to teach. While we do not have curriculum guides written for every subject yet, we're doing that now with the goal of completion by the summer of 2017, but we had to start somewhere. Teachers have been shown how to analyze standards so that they plan their lessons. They are able to ensure that their lessons and their instruction are based solely on the standards. Principals were asked also to participate with their teachers as they worked through their standards, new curriculum guides, and district-wide expectations. During the administrative retreat this past July, we agreed that we needed to purposefully operate as a school system and not a system of schools, thus requiring common expectations across the district to include the use of the same curriculum guides, the same common assessments, and the same expectations. Expectations as simple as purposeful lesson plan creation based on the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. Regular common assessments that teachers give and are able to talk about during their PLCs, Professional Learning Community Time, where they're able to drill down to reach each individual student, to figure out what to teach again and how to teach it differently, because the first time it didn't work. So if you go to our website, you'll notice that we have a huge blue box and it's labeled Instructional Guides and Resources. If you click on that, and if you have a Moore County login, then this is the website that you'll see. It's very simple. There's not a lot of bells and whistles. It's just about business. It's the Lenoir County Public Schools Instructional Guides and Resources. This is our new instructional website. As this process evolves, we will build an even more robust site that includes all subjects, all grades, with new and supportive resources. The expectation is that every year we will review the guides and resources to ensure accuracy and efficiency. So that is what we've done to date. So what is our continuous support for teachers and administrators? One of the most important changes that we've made is restructuring the curriculum and instruction department. Every grade span has a director that is providing site-based professional development. That includes, but isn't limited to, learning targets, NC STAR, instructional walkthroughs, data analysis, professional learning communities, and ongoing instructional leadership training for our principals. Each director communicates with their principals with a regular newsletter, Middle School Matters from Miss Cole, or the websites that Dr. Bullard and Mrs. Jones have created for elementary and high school principals. The directors receive the daily replies from the instructional website when a teacher reports a problem or a suggestion or recommendation. If you go back here to the actual instructional website, you'll see that there is a place to report issues right there, so that we can receive immediate concerns that we can address promptly. So if a link isn't working, or if a site is down, or if a teacher has found a really great resource that they'd like to share out, they're able to report any of those through that access button. The directors receive the daily replies from the instructional website when a teacher reports a problem or a suggestion or recommendation. The directors will respond quickly and promptly to resolve the issue or to share the recommendation. The directors also have access to the lesson plans that are submitted weekly to their principals and can offer feedback and support for teachers and principals as we strive to stay standards driven. We have 8 recurring low-performing schools in Lenoir County. The Office of Transformational Leadership at DPI provides us with additional support, specifically at Southeast Elementary, Northeast Elementary, Rochelle Middle School, and Kinston High School. This assistance is in the form of a principal coach and either 1 or 2 instructional coaches that serve math and ELA. The transformational team began serving Lenoir County Public Schools in the fall of 2015 and will continue their involvement through the end of this school year. The Curriculum and Instruction Department is providing additional support structures for Rochelle Middle School and Southeast Elementary School. Each school will house 2 curriculum specialists based on the Title I money assigned to each school for their low-performing support. The specialists will co-teach, they will support lesson planning, provide instructional coaching, and PLC support on a daily basis. These specialists report to the grade span directors. The Literacy Design Collaborative ensures that teachers are using the required reading and writing literacy standards when planning their lessons. We found that many teachers were not aware of the literacy standards that are in addition to their content standards. The LDC provides the coaching, the framework, and support for teachers as they embed literacy in every lesson. The Math Design Collaborative is also part of the same grant with the Southern Regional Education Board, SREB, to provide instructional support for teachers as they teach math conceptually and based on what students actually know, prior knowledge, and how to design the lesson based on that knowledge. We are in the third and final year of our MSP grant. That's the Math and Science Partnership Grant. Nearly 90 teachers across the district have participated. Each summer, teachers attend an intensive 2-week math symposium with professors from the Math Education Department from East Carolina University. Teachers are trained to teach math conceptually and by the standards. The participating teachers have been provided up to 4 days of continuous professional development throughout the year, graduate credit, and continuous direct support from professors at East Carolina. It's been a rich and robust professional development to build the math capacity of our teachers. So we've taken all of these supports, all of these structures, and they're in place to build the content knowledge of our teachers, to provide the support they need to understand the standards, and to have the resources they need to build lesson plans based on those standards. And we are, as a district, building common formative assessments each 9 weeks so that we'll have the data to analyze and be able to redirect instruction. So that is our plan for support and improvement. Do you have any questions or comments, recommendations? Yes, sir.
Mr. Anderson?
I want to go back to, well, you were talking about Southeast,
Yes,
I want to think, and you mentioned that using the balance of their Title I funds. Repeat that again for me, please.
Yes, sir. So these schools that are low performing have had particular designation of money from Title I to address their low performing status.
This is in addition to what they would have normally have gotten?
Yes.
Okay.
These are improvement funds to help the school, that school is supposed to spend specifically for addressing their greatest areas of
Okay, the
need.
reason I asked is that it's my understanding that we've already grabbed a substantial amount of the school's Title I funds for the iPads across the system. So you're telling me, in essence, that Southeast is making their contributions towards that, but in addition to that, have additional funds.
Yes, sir.
Which brings me to another question when it deals with Rochelle. Rochelle has this Apple grant. Has that freed up any of its additional Title I?
Absolutely. Rochelle's not being charged the 21% of the Title I money that the other schools are paying. It has never contributed to that. That wouldn't be fair because
Yeah.
our feeling was that wouldn't be fair because they got the grant.
I want to, if I could, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I want to challenge us as a board, because it seems to me that the state is trying to put in some additional resources and stuff for the schools that are consistently struggling. I would challenge this board that if all 7 of us were diagnosed with the flu, and 3 of us, in addition to the flu, had a heart problem, that a prescription that only dealt with the flu might help some of us, but 3 of us are going to die. And I think when it comes to these schools that are consistently not meeting their academic mark, that we need to make sure that where we can and what we can, we are giving these schools the resources that they need. Now, I have 2 years remaining on this board. The last thing that I want to see happen is to leave this board with 2 or 3 failing schools. And I would think that Keith and Billy, we should have the same challenge, that we have 2 years to make this right. That's my challenge.
And we also acknowledge in that same vein, Mr. Anderson, that disproportionate support is necessary. We agree that we can't give the same to everybody and expect everyone to get what they need. So, yes, sir.
Any other questions for Ms. Herring? Right, moving to the next item on the agenda, if I've got this right, out-of-district transportation procedures. Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, we're bringing a situation before the board to gather your thoughts and feelings about an issue before we move forward. As you know, our district does not provide transportation to out-of-district students who seek and are approved to transfer from one school to another and from one attendance zone to another. This no transportation provided scenario has been the practice for Lenore County Public Schools for many years, except in one case. For almost 20 years, one of the buses at E.B. Frank Middle School has picked up out-of-district students along with the regularly assigned in-district students at one of its regular in-district stops, the First Baptist Church on Rouse Road. Last summer, this matter was mentioned at the end of a facilities presentation that included information on student transfers. At the time, Lenore County Public Schools stated the intention to discontinue the practice and to comply fully with the existing transfer policy. A few days ago, just prior to the first day of school for students, we became aware of some out-of-district transfer students have been assigned to this bus for the current school year. We responded immediately to try to bring the district into full compliance. Parents were contacted regarding the situation. They were told that transportation simply cannot be provided for out-of-district transfer students. Parents were given a period of 10 school days to make alternative arrangements. Several parents contacted board members directly and have expressed their concerns over the fairness of making such a change at this early point in the school year, focusing specifically on the difficulty that this change will result in for them in trying to secure transportation for their children. We have attempted to handle this situation administratively, but we are bringing it before you tonight to ask for your guidance in moving forward. We could leave the transition time at 10 days. We could also extend the time to 9 weeks, to a semester, or even all year. Tonight, we are asking for your thoughts as a board.
Let me get mine first. I'm struggling even understanding why this is an issue now, because I remember that board meeting in particular, and I believe you all told me it was a July board meeting, but we had this discussion, and I believe I specifically asked for clarification towards the end of that discussion. I believe I said something to the effect of it, so this is the last year that this bus will run, somewhere I said that. And we were told that yes, last year was to be the last year. Who dropped the ball? Where did the ball get dropped? And why was that bus still picking up? And why were they still assigned to that bus? It's the same question I asked you and I asked Mr. Williams. So we need to answer to that. What happened? We were told that was it last year.
We were told that it was a directive. The superintendent, then Dr. Mazingo, did make the board aware. One board member pointed us to that board meeting. We did go back and consult the record. And the superintendent did state to the board when a question was asked at the end of a facilities presentation that that change would be made. And we were notified, and we thought it had been. We were notified at the beginning of, the end of week before last, prior to actually on the Friday or Saturday prior to the first day of school on Monday. we were notified that that was not the case, that some students had been assigned to the bus for the upcoming year. And that's how this began to take action. We have a new principal and new assistant principal at the school, and we notified them immediately and have attempted to handle this administratively to bring the situation into compliance with policy, with transfer policy. But several parents did contact board members. Board members did express concerns and some different feelings about it. So we're bringing it before the board tonight for your guidance and your thoughts and your consideration, and in moving forward.
Let me ask Mr. Smith's question in another way. I keep hearing the word assigned. Whoever assigned those students to that bus in violation of the procedure is the person responsible. Because they should have never been assigned to that bus if they were out of district. Whether it be transportation or whether it be the school. Whoever keyed in Joey to that bus is the person responsible.
Well, I think our main focus now is in trying to deal with the situation. We've got parents who are expressing concerns over transportation for their children and being placed at a disadvantage at this point, and we certainly understand that. Want to support all of our parents to the degree that we can. We did handle the situation administratively after we were made aware of it. 10 days, parents were notified of the 10 days. Many parents have indicated that they don't feel that that's long enough, or that they don't agree with the policy. That's certainly the board's call. We wanted to get the feelings of the board tonight before moving forward administratively with this.
Now, even before that, everybody needs to be aware in the school district that parents do sign the form that says if you take your child out of district, you're responsible for providing transportation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
But, and on that same vein, I would want to make it clear that even though we have knowledge of this particular situation, but if there's any situation throughout the system where transportation is being provided with someone who has received a waiver, that needs to stop as well.
Absolutely. Mr. Mitchell's here tonight and can respond to that, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, school board members, in reference to what you said about dropping the ball, it all falls in my lap. And I accept full responsibility of it. Beginning in May, we had a new system coming down from DPI to do our routing through a new GIS system in Leno County. Okay, during that time, we had problems with our computers. We had IT from here to address that problem. We also had problems from DPI in addressing those problems that we were having in our routing. So basically, computerized routing is basically easy, but what happened is that we were having computer problems. The software was not relating to the program that they was putting in place, and so Cindy, which does our routing, had to go through and hand, pick, and do the routing. Okay, during that time, Power School was having problems, so she was not getting complete download from Power School. So some things was added, some things was left off. So she had to go through and basically, hand, route these buses. And some of the names that she put in were some of these, the transfers. And like I said, I accept full responsibility as transportation director for this mistake. We received a directive, to cut it out. That's been my goal for 20 years. And so, like I said, the ball was dropped. It dropped in my lap. I accept full responsibility, and I'll set repercussions that come along with it.
How do we fix it?
How do we fix it? We make a decision. That's it. At the time frame that you're allowed for us to fix this, and that's what we implement.
And Mr. Mitchell, I appreciate your honesty and comfort, because, we don't expect everybody to be perfect in everything they do. There are people who are going to make mistakes. The question is now, frankly, a mistake has been made. These parents should have received notice that they were not going to be able to ride this bus anymore from us within some reasonable period of time to make a decision for themselves and for their children on whether they were going to continue to be a transfer, whether they were going to attend a different school, whether they're going to make alternative transportation arrangements. So my biggest concern is not that the ball was dropped. I can see that, and people make mistakes, and we all make mistakes. But the question is, what do we do now to be fair to these parents who have relied on what we've told them, that we've signed their children up to ride this bus, and now we're going to give them a call and say, 10 days, you just can't ride anymore. That was what was expressed to me by many of the parents. They just didn't feel like it was fair. Now, I'm not in favor of changing the policy by any way. That is our policy. I told every one of these parents, long term, your child cannot ride that bus. It's against our policy. We just can't do it long term. Now, the question is, what do we do, if anything, to try to accommodate these parents on the short term? Because they've made decisions based on our actions. And I feel like we owe it to them to do the right thing.
Well, I heard 10 days, I heard, what was the other one?
9 weeks, semester,
Yeah,
or remainder of the year.
What would be the recommendation from administration of what would be a reasonable period of time to transition this?
Well, I think most parents would request as long as we say. Obviously, we gave, I'm not, and I don't mean that in any sort of way, in any kind of humorous way. I do think in talking to parents, that's what they've said. They've requested all year. But obviously, we gave 10 days because we felt like that was as long as we could give without the board weighing in on it. It wasn't a good situation. We were trying to take steps to rectify it, but obviously we care about our parents, all of our parents and all of our students, and we want to do the right thing, but also do the right thing in a way that doesn't unfairly burden our parents. So the administration, we will be fine with whatever the board thinks about that, and if the board directs us to simply to come up with a solution, we'll do that. But then we could be back here at the next meeting if that's not satisfactory to folks and they express concerns and board members have concerns about it and ask what can we do. That's why we're here. So we did handle it administratively, but there were concerns about that. So we'll take the feedback and thoughts of the board. We're agreeable to any length of time that the board thinks is fair.
So we don't keep dancing around this. Let me just throw what I think out there. I think first 9 weeks would be reasonable.
I'll be willing to even go the semester, provided that it's across the board. Because I say again, we're talking about this particular bus on, but I would say anywhere. We are out of policy in providing transportation to someone who has signed a waiver requesting a transfer.
Right.
That beginning the second semester of this school term, that transportation, that student would not be allowed to ride a bus.
So I'm saying 9 weeks, you saying?
I'm saying
December.
semester.
I think I would lean toward a semester, because if a parent's really going to make a decision about changing schools, then I don't know that they will or not.
I wouldn't do it in the 9 weeks.
But you're not, a class goes 9 weeks, so you're not going to take a child out of the middle of class.
Right.
So you've almost got to do a semester at a minimum to make it fair.
So I can go with a semester.
I don't know how anyone else feels.
And just to update you all, funding for transportation is funded by the number of buses and the number of students that ride those buses. So we do our student count week after next. So these students that's riding this bus will be counted, be part of that funding.
So what's gonna happen if we take them off? You're gonna have to
Yeah,
give
we
the money
lose-
back?
We lose that funding, we have to.
And
pay
we knew
money
this
back.
all along. When we passed this policy, we knew it was actually disadvantageous for us not to provide transportation
Right.
to those kids. But the board decided that this was a policy and we needed to treat everyone the same.
Right.
So even though it was going to cost us money to not transport these particular children,
Yeah, it was fair.
we decided to be consistent with our policy.
How much money do you get per child?
It's about $647 per child.
But if you were to look at the overall picture as far as what it would cost us, it would cost us a lot more if we provided transportation to all our students who are out of district, would it not?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a,
But it depends on the location that you transport. Now, if you, just like in this particular incident, you only transporting within that district, even though they're coming to the district to get on the bus.
Yeah.
So it's not costing you any additional funds, it's actually
They're meeting
giving
the
the system
bus.
money,
Yeah,
you
they're
know, by
meeting
filling up the
the
I
bus.
realize that, but if you had to
Right.
provide transportation for every student that was out of district, that would cost us,
Yeah,
right?
it would cost you if
Okay.
you have to
Right.
travel outside,
Right.
you know, to pick them up, yes.
Oh,
It
sure.
would cost,
But this particular bus is going to run with empty seats in it
right. That's
that we
right.
could be making money off of, but
Then you
in
may
order
not-
to treat everybody the same.
Then you may not
This
get
is
to
what we
keep-
decided.
you don't want
to
a
do.
bus
You do that, then you
And
have to
I'm
allow
fine with it,
everybody.
I just want to be clear about what we were
Well, they
doing.
ain't gonna be running,
And then you run.
really, but.
Well, there are legitimate students who live in that neighborhood who go to Frank that are in that
Yeah,
district.
it's
So that bus
So the bus
will be
runs
running.
anyway.
So how many of those were that's out of district that's on that bus now? It's about
Right now, we're
17?
looking at 16.
Yeah, it was between 15 and 20, judging by the phone
So
calls
how
I
many
got.
on that bus? So how
It's
many,
not, it's actually about the number that we counted, it was 16.
so how many are on that bus that's supposed to be on that bus?
Supposed to be on there is 23.
So it's 23.
Right.
Okay, if they're not on that bus, will they be on another one of our buses going to another
No.
school?
Well,
Yes,
we
I
will
think-
have to reroute buses, you know, and most of the Frank buses are already at capacity. Yeah. So you're talking about overcrowding the buses. If you park one, you know, there, say if you park that particular bus, because you only had 23, and you rerouted those 23 on other buses, and that was, you know, give you an overcrowded bus on some of the other ones.
So the bottom line is they're out of district, and the policy says you provide your own transportation if you decide to take your child out of district. Okay.
Yep.
So we got the semester, so, Mr. Chairman.
I'm fine with
But I would
semesters.
like to
Anybody
make,
else want to
I
chime in?
would like to make clear,
Yeah,
this bus is not picking these students up at
at their
their
house.
homes or the end of their street.
Right.
They are meeting this bus.
Right.
So now we're gonna have a bus with 23 students. Just want to clarify that.
And that's why I say you probably have other places doing the same thing.
And if we do, then we need to
But
be
if they're out of
consistent
district, they
across
should be
the
on the bus.
districts.
You're gonna run that same bus and you're giving up how many thousands?
But you gotta be consistent or either change your policy.
You gotta have to be consistent.
Yeah,
Like I
But
said.
I just want to make sure everybody's
We
aware.
do have to treat everybody the same.
Perfectly.
gotta be consistent.
And I will say that a lot of the other counties are doing, you know, multiple stops, you know, where they have, you know, students come to a location and they board the bus, you know, and that increases transportation funding by doing that.
But what is their policy? Do they have the same policy that we have?
I'm not sure,
That's
sure
the
about
kicker.
the policy.
Mr. Smith, I can talk to that just a little bit, and
Okay.
also Mr. Anderson, if I could get back to your point, I just want to clarify, and I think you all probably know this, but there are, I don't know this for certain in Lenore County, but there are often students with special needs who may be transported out of district, and that's something that's outside of your transfer policy.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that
Right,
that's,
exactly.
that those aren't kids that we're looking at.
With
With
homelessness
districts,
too,
pardon me?
with homelessness and McKinney.
And with homelessness
Right,
and McKinney
exactly.
Vento, that also they may be transported outside of district, and we would still accommodate those children. Mr. Smith, for those districts who have the satellite bus stops, they have magnet schools that are designed to attract children outside of district. They're often lottery schools or application schools, and then those districts may choose to provide transportation to those kids to foster attendance at schools that may not be attended or have whatever criteria for students that they want. So they have specific policies that address the transportation to those magnet schools. So,
To,
Are we facing any type of liability if we are assigning kids to a bus in violation of the policy?
They Leno County students, we're not facing. They're all covered on the tort claims.
Okay.
So, Ms. King?
This is Frink, correct? Frink?
This is our
Does-
Frink district.
Does the middle school that they are in district provide the same, as you said, educational needs as Frink? And I guess I'm going the other end of,
These are children that would be going to Rochelle.
right, but does
For the most
it
part.
provide the same AIG classes, special needs classes?
Yes.
Okay, good enough.
And I think that was the underlying policy consideration. We didn't want to be seen as encouraging children to go from one school to another, especially when some of the schools they're leaving are some of our underattended, underutilized schools. I can understand with a magnet school, you're trying to draw kids. Now, if
You're
we
trying to
had-
draw kids into
now,
the
if we
magnet
wanted to draw
program.
kids to a particular school because it was underutilized, we might put a policy in place that said, we'll provide you transportation from anywhere if you'll go to this school.
And it's not unusual for the transfer policies to limit transfers unless you want access to an
Programs.
academic program or an educational program that's not available at your base.
But really, the situation we have here is not that case.
Anthony, I just gotta ask though, are we going by addresses that kids give? Because I know there are kids that parents bring them over to somebody else's house, they don't, the school bus picks them up. So are we going actually by addresses as to where, is it legal for you to bring your kid to another kid's house?
Use that address.
Mr. Nobles, I think you may be asking a question that's suited for a different department.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's where you're actually domiciled and residing, and that does
Considered
determine
domicile.
what school you have the right to attend and where the bus drops you off, because you're not allowed to be dropped off at a location other than your home. So if you're using 123 Main Street as your address to access, John R. School, then the bus route that you take should be going back to that address, and that should be the actual address where you're domiciled with your parents.
Right.
So if you're using a different address, then that's something that hopefully will be captured by administration of the school at the time that you're entering that school. It's not 100%. There's people who, are able to trick the system, but hopefully we're capturing most of those folks. But you're right, you should be domiciled where your address is at, and we ought not to be busing students to some other address. It should be to the same address.
But we have
Yeah.
rules in place at the administrative level that all of our principals know and use to verify those addresses to the best we can.
Okay, I was just thinking that was
situation-
similar to what's happening at.
Mr. Mitchell doesn't have to do that personally.
No, we don't have that. The only situation we have, if they're homeless, then we have to, go where they are.
Or special.
Yes, our special needs.
I would suggest, I know this is an information item, but I would suggest a motion from the board to give guidance, because what we're asking administration to do is ignore board policy right now. So I would suggest a motion from the board in terms of the amount of time that you'd like to waive your policy.
That's why I said I would be willing to move that we allow a grace period of this semester for people in violation of the procedure.
Okay. With the understanding that these people are going to get notice that come the end of the semester, it's no longer going to be available.
What date is that exactly? Anybody know?
Middle of January, Martin Luther King weekend.
I mean, then you got another issue when you do that too, so, it's.
Well, do we have a second to the motion so we can discuss it?
Second.
Second by Mr. Davis. All right, discussion on the motion
January 25th is the first day of second semester.
through January 25th. Discussion on the motion?
Yeah, so then you have another issue when it comes to that too. I'm in favor of doing it, but I can already hear the other issue of it. Child been in this particular class or this class for a whole semester, they're doing good with this teacher, the grades are good, then they're gonna, just changing teachers, not necessarily where they're going, would be an issue, so I can already hear that, but I'm still in favor of the semester. Just throwing that out there.
Call for the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. But if a person took their child out of district and knew they had to provide their transportation, and that's where they wanted their child to go, I don't really think that's going to influence them to take that child back out of that and go back to their home district just for transportation, because that was an issue to start with.
Right.
All right, any further discussion on the motion? Then we'll call for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
At least take it to,
This be a one semester grace period for those students.
That's first semester.
First semester. All right, that's unanimous.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Next item is, we're back to Ms. Davis and the financial report. I could have just skipped all that stuff and gone right to you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The financial report reflects the year-to-date activity by providing revenue and expenditure information as to all the sources of funds received and expended by fund and purpose as of August 31st, 2016. Please note that the beginning fund balance is before the final year-end audit entries. And I would also like you to note the decrease in the fund balance. Please don't start sweating over that. If you remember last year, we had to originally pay our lease payment out of local to begin with. And once the federal funds are allotted and come down, where we can draw our funds, that's when we'll start.
This is our technology lease payment.
This is the technology
It'll be right back up.
lease.
I understand.
So it'll go back up after that.
Yeah.
Figure there was some explanation for that. Any questions for Ms. Davis on the financial report?
That's good, as long
We'll
as it's
move
going
to
back
the-
up.
Move to the action portion of our agenda, the auditor's contract renewal, Ms. Davis.
Okay. Bear Repairs and Davenport have agreed to renew the current audit contract for 2 years, the 2016-17 and 2017-18, at the same price currently being paid for the 2015-16 audit. With the new finance director position being posted, we recommend renewing the current contract for the 2016-17 and 17-18 school year, especially with the prices remaining the same.
I'll say we're very pleased with their quality of service and with everything that they've done for us, and particularly, as Ms. Davis said, with Ms. Davis announcing her intention to retire mid-year, we believe that it wouldn't be a wise decision to have a new auditor come in at the same time the new finance director is coming in. So we do believe that it would be a good idea, not only a good financial decision, but a good practical decision in having a new finance director coming on mid-year to keep the same auditor. So that's our recommendation.
Motion to approve the contract with Bear Repairs and Airport for 2 additional years.
Motion by Mr. Hill, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nobles. Any further discussion on the motion? Call it for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. It is approved. Thank you, Ms. Davis. The next item is Mr. Harvey with 6th grade athletic eligibility. You get all the good topics.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the August meeting of the North Carolina State Board of Education, the board authorized the eligibility of 6th grade students to participate in athletics with LEA approval. We are seeking board input on the decision to declare 6th grade students eligible in Lenore County. Your options are: 1, to immediately declare 6th grade students eligible for fall sports, except football. 2, declare 6th grade students eligible for winter sports. 3, declare 6th grade students eligible for spring sports. Or 4, not to declare 6th grade students eligible for the 16-17 school year. The recommendation from our middle school principals is to not to declare 6th grade students eligible for the 16-17 school year, however, to study the possibilities and prepare an action item for the 17-18 school year. I've also attached local decisions, local LEA decisions.
I'll weigh in on this one first, too.
Yes, sir. Ms. Smith.
I agree with what the middle school principal said, because looking at this, and and I guess it's still the same as it was when I was doing dropout prevention with the district, that the 6th grade and 9th grade are your transitional years, and typically research then showed that there was a drop in the achievement gap between the between those two transitional periods. I think that, in my opinion, it's not a good idea. You have children leaving elementary going to middle school. Then it's just a whole change for them. They've got to now learn that I don't have anybody holding my hand, walking me to class. I got to learn to change classes by myself. I've got to learn to use my lockers. I've got to learn all this independence and all these other things. My opinion is that if you allow them to get in extracurricular activities, as far, not extracurricular, but sports, at that age and at that grade, I don't know that they could handle all of that at one time. It's just a lot in that transition, and there's already, research shows that there's a gap in that transition period. So my contention is that I don't think it's a good idea based on that.
I think that what Mr. Smith expressed was pretty much the basis for the middle school principals, and they're here tonight, pretty much the basis for their concern about implementing immediately.
Mr. Hill and I were at a meeting at the state level the other day, and board members from across the state were expressing similar concerns about whether sports at the 6th grade level is academically sound policy.
Who's really proposing this?
Charter schools, they came from the charter schools. They want to be able to recruit your students even more by getting pressure from the charter schools. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Thank you.
Let's get to the root of it, right? That's what
Let's the other stuff.
I don't like it.
You folks out there better pay attention, better wake up and pay attention.
That's right.
There won't be any public education need.
The charter schools have strong friends, seems like.
Yeah.
But I just think, this is an area we should proceed cautiously, if at all, to see whether or not this is really in our students' best interest. Sports are great, but academics is our #1 priority.
One more year ain't gonna hurt. We'll do it 7th grade.
I would be for evaluating it and trying to look at this again next
Yeah.
year and see if we can make a decision at that point. I don't know if anyone else wants.
I make a motion, we take number 4,
What's number 4? Second.
not declare 6th grade students eligible for this year.
Yep.
Second.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion on the motion? The motion is that 6th graders would not be eligible for this year, and we would revisit this policy and see where we are for next year. All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you.
For doing that research on that as well. Looks like we have a child nutrition surplus items, Mr. Harvey.
Yes, submitted for board action is the list of child nutrition equipment that is broken or no longer working. The board is asked to approve the equipment as surplus, sell for salvage, and return the proceeds to the child nutrition department. You have attached photos to that.
I move with what he just said. Can I do that?
Sure. Motion by Mr. Smith to have the property as presented declared surplus. Second by Mr. Hill. Any further discussion about this property? And all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, it is approved. Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you.
Well, back to Ms. Herring for out-of-state field trips.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 2 out-of-state, definitely out-of-state field trips presented to you from Kinston High School. One is a trip to the Czech Republic, and the other is the Kinston High School Grad Bash in Florida.
That first one, a good idea, right?
Mr. Chairman, can I request that we take these separately?
What'd you say?
Certainly.
What was the question?
You take them separately.
He just wants to we'll do separate motions as to each field trip. Yep. What can you tell us about the Czech Republic trip? I think that's probably going to be the issue of concern.
Mr. Corey?
It's Corey back there.
Does Mr. Corey know anything about it?
Yes, Corey.
Sorry to put you on the spot, sir.
I see.
What can you tell us about the Czech Republic field trip?
It's a trip that, Board Chair, it's a
Thank
trip
you.
that
Thank
Ruth
you, Mr.
Anderson
Corey.
is planning on having for about 11 students. She wants to provide the opportunity to provide them that trip to go to the Czech Republic. She does teach our distant ed for those students that are taking classes that are online at Kinston High School, and she wants to provide the opportunity. She said something they have considered in the past, but it's something that she wants to provide opportunity for students.
I'll say
Mr.
this.
O'Day is going as well. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I went to the State Department website, and I'll be the first to say there's no travel warning on the Czech Republic. I still can't convince myself to approve such a trip at this time. I just think things are too volatile.
Too unstable right now.
It borders Germany. I can't make myself comfortable with it.
I will say that it's certainly not unusual for our high schools to take trips to other countries, to Europe. I mean, I'm certain there's precedent for this type of trip, that it's not that unusual, but.
It's just the timing and volatile situations. I think that's probably what I have a concern. I would love for them to go. I mean, I'm not opposed to them going at all. I think that it would be great. I'm just thinking that at this time, with what's going on, and I just don't feel comfortable.
Well, I definitely respect, concerns and whatnot, and whichever way that the board decides, that's what we'll do. I definitely understand the concerns.
Just the one comment I would like to make is that Ms. Anderson is working with the International Baccalaureate organization through their TRIPS advisor, their director. And so, international, the IB is obviously across the world. And so I know that she's not organizing this on her own. It's not something that she's working through the IB organization, and they do have, they do this all over the world, and they do it all the time. So I just would like to say that she is working with a trusted organization with regards to international travel.
Let me ask this, in fairness to Ms. Anderson, who's been with our system for a long time, taught my children very well. Is this something we need to decide tonight, or can we invite her to come address the board, try to address any concerns?
Bring her back.
I just gotta say this, there's always gonna be, there's always gonna be problems, and to, the parents have, looked like its cost per student is $2,800. Those parents they feel that their kids are going to be safe. Nobody wants to ensure that their kids are safer than their parents. And so I really don't have a problem with that. If we're, every time something happens, if the people that are trying to scare people, if we're going to fall under that category every time we want to send some kids, if their parents feel that they're safe enough going on this trip, I really don't have a problem with it, and I just won't be intimidated by some groups that are trying to get people to do just what we're doing. Okay?
Well,
and I just had to say that, and we can vote like we want, but I just think that's the right thing, If it was me and I would plan the trip, I'd take it.
I understand that, Mr. Nobles. My only thing is, yes, there are always going to be problems, but are they going to be as volatile as they are right now? I mean, that's just the question.
So, Ms. Waller, if a school trip is approved by the school board,
It's her liability.
Where's the liability?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
We'll have an extra thick parental
Well, I
consent
don't think
form
there
on
is a
this
lot
one.
of liability that comes back to the school board. I mean, you normally have trip insurance, you have other things that you sign up for. There's a number of these trips too that aren't necessarily sponsored by school boards. I don't know the rules with the IB program, but for instance, I know that there's a number of opportunities provided to kids through various organizations, and the decision by administration at the school or central offices, do we want to have this as an officially sanctioned trip, or is this something that parents would then, you have a teacher from the school who sponsors it, and it's all organized directly with that particular outfitter, and it's not something that's necessarily sanctioned by the board, and that's awfully
We've had those for years.
Right.
We've, in fact, 2 of our 3 high schools regularly has trips of that kind.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is one that would even qualify for that, if it has to be board sanctioned or not, but we can certainly have that information for you.
Got me. I know people that have been to the Czech Republic this summer. So, I mean, I honestly don't have a problem with it. I think it's an educational opportunity and the parents can make their own decision.
We can get more information and like Mrs. Anderson.
I feel like Mr. Noble, I feel like if the parents are willing, I mean, if the parents feel comfortable with it.
Let 'em go. That's what I got. Anybody else want to comment? Well, what's the pleasure of the board? Do we entertain a motion to approve this at this time, or would you like to hear from Ms. Anderson directly? I guess that goes to the...
I think
the
we'd
no
either
votes.
have a motion to approve, or possibly a motion to table till the next meeting.
Do either way.
Well, if people have concerns about it, would it be beneficial to have Ms. Anderson come and explain, maybe, and, and see, I mean,
I just got.
I don't have any problem with it myself.
The people that have questions, though, would Ms. Anderson make a difference?
No? No?
Yeah,
Good.
You think she would?
I think so.
Okay.
And I just hate for Ms. Anderson to hear that we denied it and we didn't even hear from her.
Right.
That's just
Yeah.
my
Okay.
concern, I
Right.
think she wouldn't like that whole lot. Wouldn't be real fair to her.
We can invite Mrs. Anderson to come in at the next meeting.
Well, we need a motion to table this to the next meeting if that.
Yeah, let's. Okay.
Motion to table to the next board meeting.
All right, motion to table by Mr. Hill, just as to this school trip.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Davis. All in favor of tabling this?
Will that cause any problem as far as timing for?
Yeah, that's
Do you have any
right.
idea?
Well, for fundraisers and different things of that nature, I mean,
So we're talking about another month before we can talk about it?
yes, sir.
Kids can't anticipate fundraising for this until this board.
The funds can be collected.
Let's vote on it.
It may change your vote on the table, though.
I can remove, yeah, can I do that?
No,
Was it
I don't think so. I think it's a motion that's been
Gotta vote on this one.
seconded. You don't have to vote for your own
can
motion
vote
if
it
you
down.
don't want to.
So while we're in the discussion phase, so.
This
what
is
you're
the
saying-
discussion phase on the motion to table.
Right, it's a motion to table. So you're saying if we table it, all right, cost is 26 to 2,800 per student. The fundraisers, is that to defer the cost from the parents from that 26 to 2,800? Is that what that's for?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
It just means the clock is ticking on the fundraising process, and they would have potentially 1 fewer month to fundraise.
And they can't fundraise until the board approves it.
And I would like to note that the trip is in April, it's not a summer trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to know that they're safe. That's all I want.
All right, any further discussion on the motion to table to the next meeting?
What you want to do, Bruce? You want to table it or not? We'll vote it down if you don't want to table it. We don't want to table it.
So let's don't table it. If it's
Bruce
gonna
does not
cause some
want to table
problems
it.
with them
Call
for
the
the
vote, we'll
fundraising,
vote no.
and we're talking about another month. And if they get to that point anyway, and there is some kind of danger, if there's gonna be some issues or problems for them going on this trip, the parents are not gonna let them go anyway, are they?
There'll be an updated,
Mr. Corey's
State
not going to
Department.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, they're not, if my child had an opportunity to go and I was willing to do the fundraising, and it came to that point, and there was some kind of issues or problems or concerns or danger, then I certainly wouldn't let my child go. I just had to lose the money. But I certainly would hate to deny someone that opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on the motion to table at the moment, so.
Well, we can still discuss.
Call the
though,
vote
right?
on that.
Well, it's
Still
the
in for
motion to
discussion.
table. Yeah. The question is, should we
Vote him
take the
down. We gotta
vote?
vote him down.
Yeah, we got to take the motion, the vote, right?
But I can still make a discussion before we do that table vote, right? Okay.
Go ahead.
So, listen to what you all have said. Y'all done something that you don't usually do often with me. Changing my mind. That don't happen very often, but listen to what you said. You said you know somebody that's just gone. So
I don't want to give names on television.
No, we don't give no names.
If you want to know, but.
I don't want to know the names, but if you said they went and everything, I don't change my mind when I too much. But
Good friend of ours, teenage son, played baseball in Czechoslovakia this summer on his own without his parents.
okay. Well, y'all did something else historical in this 4 years.
All right, we're going to call for a vote on the motion to table. All in favor of tabling this till next month, raise your right hand. All opposed? Okay, the motion to table fails. We'll entertain a motion to approve the,
It's not the first time, no.
entertain a motion to approve the school trip as presented, at least as to this trip.
So moved.
Yeah.
Motion by Mr. Nobles, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hill. Any further discussion at this point? All right, all in favor of approving the trip, raise your right hand. All opposed? Okay, 6-1, the trip is approved. Thank you, Mr. Corey, we appreciate your information. Do we?
Just got another field trip.
Yeah, we still got one more.
One more trip.
So how's Florida to you?
I'd also like to go to Orlando, Florida for the grad bash.
Zika down there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can support Orlando,
That's
Florida.
Zika. If you come back with Zika, we're gonna be responsible.
All right, we'll entertain a motion to approve
Won't be
the
responsible for
second
that,
school
right?
trip. Someone
Motion
wants
to
make-
approve.
All right, motion by Mr. Hill,
Second.
second by Mr. Nobles. All in favor of the school trip to Florida, Kinston High School, raise your right hand. All right, that is approved as well. Next item is revised policies. Mr. Williams.
Tonight we're bringing some policies from the North Carolina School Boards Association, policy revisions before you. Policy 9030, the August 1st revision, and then a more extensive revision from August 15th, 2016 to policy 9030, and the corresponding policies at a later date. And you have 6420, 9120, and 9130.
For the sake of time, I read the policies. I like the most recent version approved by the School Board Association of 9030. I did feel like it added some things to the change order situation that really need to probably be in there. They came out with a first draft, which is going to be labeled your August the 1st
Right.
version. Then they came out with a subsequent draft, which is their August the 15th version. And the rush on this is the legislature says we have to adopt this by October the 1st, which will be before the next meeting, which is why it's an action item. The one question I had is there is some blanks on these policies that we do need to fill in. Specifically, the question as I read it is, what is the superintendent's authority with respect to entering contracts without board approval? They're recommending here that be limited to $50,000. And
And that is consistent with what the School Boards Association, we did verify with them, that's their recommendation.
that's their recommendation. Our current policy, 6420, actually provides that up to $100,000
So it'd be a $50,000
the
reduction.
superintendent can approve, subject to any contract between $50,000 and $100,000 being presented to the board on a monthly basis.
That was a recommendation from School Boards Association. Is that consistent with what most districts are doing? They indicated that
Well,
it was.
one, since you and I talked, Mr. Sargent, I've learned that the 50,000 is, they've settled on that number based on our recommendation from Tharrington Smith.
There you go.
There you go. So our recommendation is that the superintendent have authority of 50,000 for most districts in the state. To give you a little bit of perspective, Wake County, which is going to have more than 160,000 students, Charlotte Meck, that has around 150,000 students, they have $100,000 authority. So our sort of thought is, if you've got that number of students, anyone should be able to make it work for that amount. And when you have significantly less, you may want to be more involved. So we generally recommend 50,000. We do recommend, and again, if you want to go with the 100,000, that's okay. That's certainly, there's no magic bullet about that. It's about how much involvement you want on the contracts themselves. We do recommend, so if you stay with the 100,000, we would recommend that the superintendent provide you notice of all contracts that are over the amount of 50,000. I think right now it's 100, so you're provided monthly notification of any contract that exceeds 80,000. Up to 100,000. We'd recommend that number be reduced to 50. If you go with 50,000 for the amount that you'd like approval authority on, we recommend really that any contract 25 and above then be provided for the board receive notification of. So it's whatever your comfort level is, but the 50,000 that's recommended is coming from Tharrington Smith. So in looking at the policies, it makes it a little bit complicated. Only because there's lots of blanks. And so to approve these policies, I think if you want to sort of talk generally about where you may be, and then we can walk through the policies so that we can clearly articulate for the minutes of the board as to how we would be modifying and filling in those blanks. And then we could have a motion to approve as amended.
And we've been bringing most of our practice has been to bring contracts, even if they don't approach the threshold, we've been bringing them to the board anyway. So this is consistent with our practices anyway.
The 50,000.
Yeah.
The other item that's in here is they also suggest, and I don't see it right here, I think it's in 9030, where principals have a limited authority to enter into encumbrances on behalf of the board, and we don't recommend that go above. That's also a blank. We recommend that amount be for $2,500, and those are to cover things like class rings and items such as that. So there would be procedures that outline that. So that's also something that's talked about in there.
I don't see, is it under 9030?
I'm sorry?
It's not under
9030.
No, let me
It should
see.
be 9020.
Maybe 9120. Let's see.
No.
I think it might be.
Construction contract.
It's under 6420. At the top of 6420, under paragraph A, to provide greater flexibility at the school level, the superintendent may also establish circumstances in which principals may enter into contracts involving amounts up to, and we would recommend $2,500 to be filled into that blank.
So the decisions we have to make largely are, do we go with the August the 1st version or the August the 15th version? And then what number do we put in there as far as a limitation on the superintendent's authority?
Do we have to fill in the blanks to approve these as written?
I think we do.
Yeah, because we don't.
They're presented with blanks in them, we have to fill in the blank.
A lot of blanks.
So I don't know if we want to walk through the policies one at a time, and there should be
happy
4
to.
different policies.
There's 4 different policies. If you want to start with 6420, which is sort of general contract authority, contracts with the board. Under paragraph A, this is on the bottom of page 1.
So any contract involving expenditures in excess of blank must be reviewed by the board attorney. I guess they put that in there to make sure the attorneys continue to do well. And approved in advance by the board unless provided otherwise in board policy.
And that's where they're recommending 50,000.
That's where they're recommending.
That's for the 50,000.
Right.
Yep. And then the next blank is going to be superintendent is authorized to enter contracts or approve amendments to contracts involving amounts up to blank.
And that would be the same amount.
I think that would be the same
$50,000.
Then you've got the principals. that the superintendent can authorize principals to enter contracts up to an amount of,
We would recommend 2,500.
2,500?
and at least monthly, the superintendent shall report to the board all contracts, contract amendments approved by the superintendent under this policy that exceed, and another blank.
2,500.
That would be 25,000 would be the recommendation.
And that would be all the blanks. That's all the blanks on 6420.
I move we approve 6420
As amended.
as amended, yeah.
Okay.
Second.
And that would be approved 6420 with $50,000 in the first blank, $50,000 in the second blank, $2,500 in the third blank, and $25,000 in the fourth blank.
Second.
All right.
That is exactly what I meant.
Motion by Mr. Noble, second by Mr. Hill. Any further discussion on that policy? We'll call for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. That policy is approved. Which one should we do next?
Let's go to 9030. And this would be the one that was suggested in August 15th.
Okay.
9030.
All right, if we go down to section B, the superintendent is authorized to approve change orders. So this is not the same, has to do with construction change orders.
This is construction change orders, that's right.
Additive or deductive sums up to, and they're recommending the same value of $50,000.
They're recommending the same value, $50,000.
90/30, 50,000.
So there's funding for the,
And then under section C, change orders that, one, involve amounts over.
$50,000.
So that would be 50,000 in the second blank.
And in that
Or
same paragraph, that next blank would also be $50,000.
Cost to be in excess
Not
of
to exceed.
50,000. And that is all the blanks on 90/30. Do we have a motion to approve 90/30 with $50,000 and placed in all three blanks?
Motion to approve 9030 as amended.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Hill.
second.
Second by Mr. Nobles. All in favor of 90/30 with $50,000 in all three blanks, raise your right hand. All right.
9021,
9121.
9120, sorry.
9120.
I don't see any blanks.
There is, on the very last, on page 4 or 5,
Yeah.
under
I got
F.
it. Yep.
At least monthly.
It's
And this
above
would be
F,
the
looks like E.
25,000. At least monthly, the superintendent shall report to the board all contracts approved by the superintendent under this policy that exceed 25,000.
Well, I see two blanks under E.
Oh, there we go, I missed one.
At the top. So I take the first blank would be 50,000, right?
Yes.
Any construction or repair contract involving expenditures in excess of 50,000. And it says, unless otherwise prohibited by statute or regulation, the superintendent or designee is authorized to enter into construction or repair contracts involving amounts up to, I would assume that would be 50,000 as well.
Yes.
So 50, 50, and then we're down to F.
Shall report the board all contracts.
That was 25,000.
This policy that exceeded 25.
So the third blank would be 25,000 under F. Okay. So that is policy 9120. Do we have a motion to approve that with 50,000 in the first two blanks and 25,000 in the third blank?
Move to approve 9120 as amended.
All right. Motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. Davis. All in favor of 9120, raise your right hand. Okay.
Last one is 9130, and that is the shortest one of the bunch with no blanks.
Do we have a motion to approve 9130?
Motion to approve 9130.
Motion by Mr. Hill. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nobles. All in favor of 9130 as presented, raise your right hand. That is unanimous. If we ever get a chance to build something in the future, we will be well prepared. Oh, we will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I move that the Lenore County Board of Education go into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files, to consult the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, and to consider matters relating to initial employment of the individual employee.
All right, motion by Mr. Hill. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nobles. All in favor of going into closed session, raise your right hand. All right, we're now in closed session.
Well, it depends who's on.
We are back in open session. We'll entertain a motion to approve the personnel report with the addendum.
Move to approve the personnel report with the addendum.
Motion by Mr. Smith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nobles. All in favor of approving the personnel report with the addendum, raise your right hand.
Wow.
It is approved. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Anderson. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Davis. All in favor, raise your right hand. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.